Welcome back to the Christianity and Business Podcast, an initiative of the Archie W. Dunham College of Business at Houston Baptist University. I'm your host, Darren Shear, and this is the show that helps Christian business leaders integrate biblical values into business. On this episode, we're joined by Mike Romey. And in all the episodes we've done, this is the first time you're going to actually hear from one of the co-founders of the Center for Christianity and Business. Mike is senior partner and co-leads the board, CEO, and private equity practices at Allen Austin, which is a consulting and retained search and leadership advisory firm. Prior to joining Allen Austin, he was CEO and principal at Chilton Capital Management and CEO at Texan Capital. He is also a managing partner in a private equity firm, Memorial Capital Partners. So if you haven't figured it out by now, Mike is an entrepreneur. Mike is involved in a lot of different things in very, very effective and impactful ways. And he's also the author of the new book, Mastering Your Pain, 18 Strategies to Perform Effectively Despite Your Physical Pain. Mike, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Darren. I look forward to our visit.
Yes. It's about time we got you on the show. Mike, what led to your decision to help found the CCB, or the Center for Christianity and Business?
Darren, it goes back to my time at an investment management firm by the name of Bridgeway Capital Management. Bridgeway gives away 50% of their net profit to charity, and I spent 12 years there. During that time, we were always looking at higher education and trying to figure out ways that we could make a difference in the higher education arena. HBU, being a school of interest in Houston, Texas, where I'm based, was always on my radar to figure out how could we really spend some of our gifting and helping HBU. And at that time, the Center for Christianity was being formed, and they were looking for an area of, or they were looking for someone to come in and help them pay for, at that time, and gift the it was really bringing in a speaker of faith that could make a difference in the business world. And so we helped fund that, and you could call it a conference if you want, but it was really more like a summit where you just kind of had business leaders and everybody come together. And it turned out really well, and had a great time doing it. And in the end, it was really, in the big picture, it was a small amount of money, but it helped catapult the center and really make it, kind of put it on the map, because people in the business world, at least in the Christian business world, were paying attention, and it was a lot of fun to do. So that's where the basis of the center funding came about. And since that time, it's evolved in a number of different ways, to the point where you and I both know we serve in a capacity from a board and advising and continuing to help the center figure out what's best to offer. What offering can we have that serves the business community in the best possible manner?
Well, we're so grateful for your generosity and all the hard work that has gone into making the center what it is. I know our audience is grateful to be able to listen to this podcast, and if it wasn't for you and the others that helped to get this thing off the ground, this podcast wouldn't exist. So thank you for that. And so there's so many things that we could talk about, Mike. I mean, you're an incredible leader, an incredible entrepreneur, businessman. one of the unique things that conversations that you have spoken into is this issue of pain as it relates to just the everyday working person. And I know a lot of that comes from your experience playing competitive sports. You were a quarterback at the University of Kansas and a baseball player. And so you've gone through a lot of injuries, and then you different things, nagging things that have kind of affected you in your professional life. Tell our listeners, why did you write this book, Mastering Your Pain? And the subtitle is 18 Strategies to Perform Effectively Despite Your Physical Pain.
If you don't mind, before I answer that question directly, I'd like to qualify something you said. I started out as a quarterback at the University of Kansas, and through numerous situations of pain, of getting hurt, ended up as what they would call a defensive back or a safety, and so my career was really spent on the defensive side of the ball in college after going there as a quarterback. That's not uncommon, by the way, in college athletics. So let's get back to the real question. I just wanted to qualify that so that if someone asks you, you could say, well, Mike did qualify it. And integrity is extremely important, right?
Indeed.
So the reason for the book and the thought behind the book, I had been thinking about it for quite a while. It's one of those things where God, I always felt like God gave me an abundance of athletic ability. He gave me a very good mind. He gave me a purpose in life to be better and to be part of his kingdom. And so I wanted to take that opportunity to share it with others. I know that there are three kinds of pains in life. There's physical, mental, and social. And when people have to deal with pain, we each have a mentality or makeup and how we deal with that pain is different. And it's kind of ironic that we're in this pandemic now, because I can only imagine what people are feeling, particularly from a social standpoint. But so let's get back to the physical side of it. What typically happens for an athlete is that they have this ability and they're very good, but they don't have control, and God controls that. What's going to happen in our lives? But what I do know is that the control part that we have is how we act after we have some kind of debilitating pain or injury of some sort. And typically what happens is that pain tends to affect us mentally and not only physically. And so when it starts to happen and affect our mental aspect, then it really boils over into our daily life in such a way that we can't really be the good person that we are. And so my thought is that when I wrote the book, Darren, it was not about trying to make a bestseller. It was about if we could, or if I could save one life because of the book, because it gave people hope and it taught them or gave them an idea how they could deal with the pain. That's where the 18 strategies came from. It's not a scientific number. The book is not scientific. It's very practical. It's very practical in a way that tells you, okay, this is So this particular situation happened. Here's a possible solution for you. It may work, it may not. And then we tried to really make it so that it gave people ideas on how to have conversation and how to communicate about the pain that they're feeling. So that one of the things we do in life is we tend to hold things in because we don't want to pain. Whenever we have physical pain or social pain or mental pain, we don't want people to know about it because it makes us look weak. And so what I wanted people to know is that it's okay. Everybody has some kind of pain in one of those categories, and it's okay to share with others. I got a quick little story here. I was at a board meeting for the city a few months ago, and I was sitting next to a young lady and asked her how she was doing, and she said that she's doing okay now. And I said, "What does that mean?" And she said, "Well, I just came back from spending a week of kind of healing my pain." And I thought, "Holy cow! How in the world would somebody sitting next to me be put in my midst? And I just finished writing this book about mastering your pain." And so I proceeded to ask her a number of questions, and it allowed her to open up. The next thing you know, Darren, is everybody in the board meeting started talking about pain and what they were feeling. And it was the most incredible conversation. And I know what came of it. It was a lot of healing to be able to get it out, to be able to talk about it, to let people know that we weren't going to judge them. We weren't going to think they were weak because they had a pain. We weren't going to think that they were a bad person because we related it to ourselves individually. And it was just an incredible sight to see, which is exactly what the book was supposed to accomplish. And so that's the premise.
Yeah.
And
Because everybody's dealing with some sort of pain. And I think for some, the pain is more chronic and sharp and acute than others. And it affects us so much in our professional life. I've been reading a lot of or listening to the audiobooks on a lot of presidential biographies, and it's almost without exception, every one of them had some form of pain. Like JFK had just this excruciating chronic back pain that I never knew about it, but apparently it affected him in a significant way. And George Washington, his mouth was always hurting because he had just really bad teeth, and just so everybody's got some sort of a nagging, whether it's an injury or something it is affecting us in our work. What is the right response for those of us who are dealing with things like that?
Well, I think the first thing to do is make sure you have support. Be able to have somebody there to listen, because that can give you feedback. You're not looking for someone to necessarily feel sorry for you. What you're looking for is, I got to talk this out. I've got to get this out of me. Again, relating it back to what's going on with the pandemic, when you feel pent up as an individual, as a human being, you tend to just it really affects you mentally, and it really brings you down, and so getting it out there gives you the chance to keep that spirit, to keep that goal of having a great day, and to being better today than I was yesterday. And it's all about trusting that who you are is what people care about. They don't care about all the uh, details of the pain so much, because they're going through it too, but they want somebody to share it with. And so, just being able to open up to me is the key. Uh, and I know psychologically, and we're not talking from, we clinically, this is not what this book is about, but I do know there's a lot of studies on this. And so I just think that from a practicality standpoint, you have to have the ability to talk things out.
Yeah, that's so good. What's another kind of practical strategy that you would recommend for those, or maybe a way that because you dealt with some things as well, and maybe even you're experiencing now, what has helped you to confront some of those things?
It's interesting. We don't think of it this way, but sleep is good in so many ways. It's good because it relaxes the body. It's good because it allows the body to gain, um, get rest. Something that we don't think of very often is that it also allows the mind to relax. And we have a tendency to be in motion all the time. So much is going on. And so our minds are constantly in motion. And so when you have a chance to let your mind rest and think about and calm down, it really gives you an insight into how to deal with something that you're dealing with. And if that's a physical pain, then you want to be in that state where you can figure out or get help to figure out how to get better. And life is, if you think about it, if we always put it out there to ourselves that we're trying to work to get better. And I think I've always believed this, that having a faith and having a belief in God wants you to be better. He gave you a talent. He gave everybody on earth something. So figuring out what that something is, and when you're at peace, and typically at night, even when you have pain, your mind still has a chance to create that peace. It gives us that opportunity to figure out how we're going to get better the next day. And that may be that taking care of that physical pain. How am I going to make that physical pain or that mental pain better? And I'm sure that if you go and you read different passages in the Bible, there are multiple scenarios where, whether it be Paul or whomever, that dealt with physical pain, and they had their own way of dealing with it. And one of them is prayer. And I'm a huge believer in prayer. I don't tend to ask for things in prayer. I tend to ask for to be better, and to have that uh, inner faith to push forward. And so I so I think prayer has been a big and an abundant thing for me in making my personal pain uh, be a lot easier to handle.
Yeah. And I think prayer and relaxation really go hand in hand, because if it all depends on us, we're probably not praying, because if we pray, we would realize that God is saying, cast your cares on me because I care for you. And that's what his word this is what his word tells us. And as you were talking about the need for rest and just to relax, especially when you're going through some kind of chronic pain, whether it's physical or social, emotional. Uh, just thinking about, my wife going through childbirth, and what they teach the women going through childbirth is to relax and breathe, and yet in the middle of that, it seems like you would be doing just the opposite. It's labor. So why would you be telling me to relax and breathe calmly when I'm having to work so hard and I'm in so much pain? I should just kind of, grit my teeth and just, you know just be uptight. And I think the same probably applies, right, for our professional life. I mean, the workplace can be very stressful, and if we're going into it without rest, we're going into it with a reactive mode, and we're gonna make that pain even worse. Uh, wouldn't you say so?
I would tell you that if ten, I have been typically a very intense person in my life, and what I can tell you is that the intensity tends to affect me in a different way, so much so that I do things that I normally wouldn't do. And when you do things that you normally wouldn't do, that puts yourself, your person, out of balance. And if people are used to you a certain way and you're in balance and they see that happen, but yet they don't know what's going on behind that because you haven't shared it or you've kept it to yourself and you don't want to look weak, and like I said earlier, and things like that, then there's some negativity that comes out of that. And so when you think about um, building a mountain out of an anthill, that would be a great example. Is that holding things in, and not relaxing, and get it just tends to make you more and more intense all the time. And so people don't really think about stopping to ask somebody very often about what's behind what they're saying. I mean, and part of that is because we feel like we got to hold that in because we can, again, whatever it is, we want our persona to look a certain way. And I think that I think that the pandemic will probably have uh, a positive effect from that standpoint because every one of us have gone through this now, and we know what pains are coming out of it. So I believe, I'm a believer right now that the pandemic will create better communication and it'll create better scenarios for people to share their pain.
Mm. Yeah. And Mike, as we wrap it up here, well, first I want to ask you, people can certainly go buy the book on Amazon. They can go buy it at highbridgebooks.com. Mastering Your Pain, 18 Strategies to Perform Effectively Despite Your Physical Pain. Anything else you want to tell people about what you're working on right now, or how they can get involved?
Yeah, I think that right now one of the things about being at Allen Austin is the opportunity to be purpose driven. And so what does that mean? That means that I get to work on things that can make a difference in people's lives. And I'm very honored right now to be working on a project at HBU in the entrepreneurship program for the McNair Center. And what I'm finding, the students at HBU are just fabulous. I mean, they're just a wonderful group of people to work with. And you say, okay, well, how's that different? Why is that the case? And I'm not just saying it because I'm doing an HBU podcast. I'm saying it because it's from my heart. And I speak to the business school in the mentor program, and it's just such an incredible sight to see that these kids, they feel like, hey, I got somebody talking to me that cares, and they're not entitled. They are eager to learn. They've had to work their way through very difficult situations in a number of cases, and whether that's moving here from another country or living in a not so great neighborhood, whatever it may be. But what I find about the students, that they want better, and so it's wonderful to be around. And I'm getting to work on a project right now for the McNair Foundation at the university that is very, very much in the category of trying to find out how we can continue to put the proper teaching methods and the proper learning and entrepreneurship and make that available for the students. And so it's a wonderful and a great opportunity to be a part of what the university is doing.
Yeah. And people can just Google McNair Center HBU, and you'll find the pages for the McNair Center. And Mike is obviously involved with the Center for Christianity and Business as well. You know that link, everybody. ChristianityandBusiness.com is the website to get there. Mike, thank you so much for sharing your time. I know you're a busy guy and high demand. They actually called Mike the mayor because he's so well connected here in Houston and helps so many people. And we sure appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Darren. You're a great guy. Glad to join you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if so, we would greatly appreciate it if you would leave us a quick rating and review for the Christianity and Business podcast on iTunes. You can get more information about HBU Center for Christianity and Business at ChristianityandBusiness.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to keep integrating biblical values into your business.